In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add horizontal lines to stock charts to help identify maximum and minimum values during a range, so you can spot the highs and lows during a specific period. And I'm going to show you how you can do this in both Excel and Google Sheets. Now, before we jump in, if you're finding these tutorials and tips helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And make sure to enable notifications so you never miss another video. So, for starters, I'm going to set this up in Excel. And I'm going to use the stock history function to pull NVIDIA's stock price since the start of the year, start of 2024, up until the end of October. And that's going to populate the dates and the closing values. And what I'm going to do to create a horizontal line, the key thing to do is to make sure that your values are repeating. So if I want the high value, then I'm going to use the max function. And the only argument I need is just that column B that has my closing values. And so this is different than the 52-week high or the daily high. This is just the highest value the stock has closed at over this period. So it's an important distinction to remember. Same with the low. If I'm taking the minimum value, using the min function, I'm taking the lowest value, the lowest closing price during this time. I'm not taking the 52-week low or anything like that. So this formula is going to stay intact all the way through. And so now I've got my high and my low. So if I want to chart this, I go to Insert and then open up the charts. And for this, ideally, you may want to use the line chart, which is the main one that Excel recommends, which is what I would use. It makes more sense in this situation, and it's correctly identified exactly what I want to plot. So from here on out, it's just a matter of maybe some additional formatting that you may want to use for this. So if I want to adjust the color of this, I can right-click, format the data series, and then on the paint bucket option, I can change it to change the color, so it's black. And what I would want to do in this case is maybe change the dash type, so it's a broken line, right? And so we have the dash effect there. And I can do the same thing on the bottom with the paint bucket, changing the color, obviously, to whatever it is you prefer, and however you want it to appear. And just like that, we've got the maximum minimum, so we can see that this high point was reached right here and the low was right here. Now, if I change this to a different stock, let's use Microsoft. So we can see that it's got a bit of a different range. Now, this automatically doesn't scale my chart if I change the ticker. So one thing you'll need to do is right-click, format the axis if it doesn't automatically detect it here. And maybe in this case, I'll adjust the minimum value to, so let's say about 350. So depending on your range, if your chart looks a little funny, just pay attention to that scale because it won't automatically adjust in this case. So here we can see Microsoft hit a peak around here, about around July 2024, and the lowest was at around the start of the year. Another thing you may want to do is add some grid lines to this. So add a vertical grid line. We've got the horizontal one. So if I go to Add Chart Element under the Chart Design tab, there's an option for grid lines. And if I click on a primary major vertical line, now I've got a nice grid format that shows me where these points intersect. And so at this point, it's really just about formatting and how you want your data set, how you want your chart to look like. So just like that, we've easily added the highs and the lows in Google Sheets, the key or in Excel. And the key thing to remember is we want to keep those values repeating to ensure that that line remains horizontal. So now let's flip over to Google Sheets and do the exact same thing. I'm going to set price, but there is also an option to pull in the actual 52-week low and 52-week high if you wanted to. So if you scroll down here, you can see the different attributes. If I click on Learn More, there is an option for a high 52, a low 52, and that will give you the 52-week high and 52-week low if you enter in these values in the function. But I'm going to use price because I'm going to put in the historical price because I want to set up exactly the same way as I did in Excel. So I'm going to put price. The start date, I'm going to put January 1, 2024. And depending on your regional settings, you just want to set up your date accordingly. So I've got day, month, year. And we'll copy that down. And we've got my stock history going back. So now I'm going to set up my high and low columns. And I'm still using the max function to get the highest value, just like in Excel. And if I hit the checkbox here, it'll automatically copy that down. And for the low, I'm going to also use the min function, just like I did in Excel. So really easy to do it the exact same way. Double click, and it'll copy it down. So the same sort of setup. I'm going to insert a chart. The one thing that I found a bit that needs a bit of extra adjusting here is with Google Sheets, it did not automatically detect columns C and D that I wanted to add them in here. I've only got the date and the closing value. And you can see in this data range, it's going from column A to column B. It's not including column D. So I just need to change this to a D, hit enter. And now I can go here and add the series for the high and add the series for the low. And so I've got my range. But I will need to adjust this axis just because it's fairly high. So if I click on that, there's going to be options for the vertical axis. We've got a minimum and a maximum. So I can specify the minimum, again, at 350, hit enter. And now we've got a nicer looking chart with with the movements much more visible. So now what I'm going to do is adjust these dashed lines again. So if I click on this red one here, I can change that to a black color, make a broken dash. Same thing for this yellow one, black, a broken dash. So other than that, other than looking a little bit different than the chart in Excel, I mean, we can set it up similarly so it looks the same way. We can get rid of the legend, the title if we wanted to. And so it's a similar kind of looking chart as in Excel. But as you can see, it's really easy to set it up. The main components to remember is that the maximum and minimum values should always be repeating because that ensures that these lines remain horizontal and they're not moving up or down. And in Google Sheets, it's really easy to set this to the 52-week high and 52-week low. If you wanted to, all you would need to do is use the 52-week high and 52-week low attributes rather than the price that I've used here. But by doing it this way, it's a lot more adaptable. So maybe you don't want to look at 52 weeks. Maybe you want to look at the whole year or multiple years, whatever the case may be. And in that case, you're just doing the min and the max functions to get that and then plot that out. And then it's just a matter of setting up the lines so they look exactly how you want them to look.